Hey everyone, it's Luna Noir, and it's time for my review, as promised, on the King's Game manga. Now, a fair warning, this video will be split into 3 parts and have heavy spoilers for each manga. Also, as there are too many people to keep track of in these mangas, I will not mention names too often, only if they are, though, the characters that we need to keep an eye on. So, just for quick context, and for those that don't know, the King's Game, or Osama Game, is a Japanese drinking game. Now, the alcohol is optional, but the concept is still the same. A group of several people get together. They use chopsticks, matches, anything that can be used. Now, while the other items are marked with numbers, one of these items is marked to indicate who the king is. And now, the king will give an order to the selected members via calling their number to do certain tasks, ranging from humorous stuff to possibly lightly humiliating things. In this game, the king's orders are absolute. Now, while the game itself is harmless fun, the anime and manga adaptation are not. Now, the manga is split into 3 parts, hence why the video is split into 3 parts, and we shall follow them in that order. Now, the first in this series is King's Game Origin. This manga, of course, as I said, is the first to start us down the path on how what we see as a lighthearted game turned into a game of survival and turned the participants against each other. It begins in the summer of 1977 in the remote Yonaki village. 32 villagers are living together peacefully and keep to traditional means. We start the manga off by meeting cousins and 2 of the most important characters, Kazunari and Natsuko, in the hills picking mushrooms. It is established very early on that they have a deep love for each other despite being cousins. And this is something very frowned upon by members of their village. It is also established, kind of, that Natsuko is part of a family that practices traditional medicines. After a fight with her mother, Natsuko locks herself in her family's storeroom. Well, her mother sends Kazunari away, trying to get her daughter out, because the mom's a bitch. The next day, Kazunari's friend Yuji shows up and shows him and several more of their friends, along with Natsuko, a letter in a black envelope. This begins the very first King's Game. The first task is for all children between the ages of 10 and 20 to touch a corpse or be punished by hanging. One girl who was present to hear the order backs out of fear, and another child who had just recently turned 10 was never informed on this task, as none of these children believed that the punishment or the game were real. This is sadly proven wrong when the same 2 individuals who did not complete the order were found dead the next morning. Tragic. Another letter is found, as these letters are being found in mailboxes. The task this time, to gather giant hornets for each member of the village. The punishment is death for a villager for each dead hornet by being chopped into pieces. The teens complete the task, but at great peril to one of them, as they are stung repeatedly by several hornets and have to be rushed to the hospital. They are hopeful that the task was carried out with complete success, but upon midnight, when Kazunari releases the hornets, he discovered that 3 hornets have died in the cage, and it was before midnight. And thus 3 villagers were found dead the next morning as described by the letter in punishment. Kazunari and Yuji do try to convince the village elder that the game is real, but of course, as they are children, they aren't believed, and the police get involved, initially suspecting Kazunari and Yuji of being the ones behind the letters, potentially pulling a prank of sorts. Although, what kind of prank could result in such a horrific death? Anyway, receiving a copy of the next letter from the police, as they found it and made copies of it to get Yuji and Kazunari's fingerprints, the next task is that each villager must burn 100,000 yen in a bonfire, or the punishment is to suffer a heart attack. Everyone complies with this except for one villager who suffers a heart attack in front of everyone present. And a couple who left the village out of fear, but they got punished anyway. As stated in each letter, as soon as the game begins, no one is allowed to call it quits until it finishes. Doing so will result in a punishment. By this time, tension is running pretty high between friends and villagers, who pretty much suspect Kazunari and Yuji as well, but given that death in front of them, they can't really tell what happened. Tensions get higher and higher as the next order is for Kazunari to select one villager to die of decapitation, or every villager remaining will suffer the same fate. Out of fear, everyone begins bombarding him with questions as to who he will pick and what will he do. But for his safety and sanity, he is sent home by the police. With the stress of a weighty decision on his shoulders, Kazunari is approached by one of his friends, Michiko, who, like the bitch she is, tries to seduce him so he would not pick her to die. As the day goes on, it's nearing midnight and the decision must be made. Using a lottery system devised by Michiko, Kazunari picks Hisako Nakamura, mother of his friend Kazuya, who was present for the first task. Hisako caught Michiko earlier in the day trying to seduce Kazunari, and she had also planned to beg him to not choose her, as she has a child to take care of. But, in her panic, it is discovered by Hisako that Michiko actually rigged the lottery so that Hisako's name was the only one that could be picked, as every paper in the lottery bag was only containing her name. Midnight passes and everyone witnesses Hisako's supernatural decapitation. Sadly, including her son. This confirms to all that the King's Game has to be real. To suppress media, the village is quarantined off, but also it keeps out family members of those who were not in the village when this game started, thus leaving their remaining relatives trapped inside the village. Researchers come in trying to discover the truth behind the King's Game, and as the game continues, more and more letters are found. Loyalties break down, and discord pretty much spreads like a plague and poison. The punishments increase from really impossible things, all too graphic to really kind of say or describe, to regular things, and the police begin to keep the villagers in town hall till they can find who the king is. The bodies just pile up more and more. Morality and sanity collapse. Suspicions are everywhere, and things get no better when several villagers decide to take their own vigilante justice and cause Natsuko to disappear, initially suspecting her to be the king. With her disappearance, the letters seem to stop somehow, only to end up being found elsewhere in the village. So, the poor girl is gone, and they seem to, I guess, not completely care, but we'll see how that goes. The game continues, and the police begin to pack up and leave, as it is discovered by the doctors and researchers on hand that the king isn't a person, but a disease residing, residing within all of the villagers' blood, manipulating one or more people to write and then hide the letters, as well as the punishments to be carried out, as it is simply a suggestion that the bodies die in the way described for punishment. As there is nothing more that they can do, the police leave, the quarantine remains, and the villagers are left to survive on their own or die, taking this disease with them, as well as possibly leaving them with a small bit of hope that a cure would be found, and found soon. As the game continues, all morality is pretty much out the window. During this time, Kazunari searches day and night for Natsuko. Even before the police left, he was searching day and night for her, while using what little energy he had left to continue on with the game. Nearing the end, only 7 villagers remained. Kazunari, Michiko, her father, Yuji, Ryuji, who was the poor teenager that was stung by the giant hornets and he survives, Ryuji's mother, and Shuhei, an avid hunter in the village. As per the orders of the game, Kazunari, Shuhei, and Michiko are deemed hunters, while Ryuji, his mother, and Yuji are deemed prey. And if the hunters can kill 2 people each, they win this order. Or rather, they survive this order. Fail, and the punishment is being skinned alive. The hunters make a pact not to kill each other unless it became necessary. A pact that Kazunari, of course, does not agree with, as it is still taking someone's life to save yourself. Michiko begins off by killing her father. Shuhei kills Yuji, or rather he shoots Yuji, but Kazunari ends up killing him by accident when he carries him to go get help, making it Kazunari the one who has 1 kill under his belt. Michiko and Shuhei try to kill Ryuji, and then Shuhei goes after Ryuji's mother. Both commit suicide, one by jumping off the bridge he was trapped on, and the mother by burning to death. To end it all, Kazunari decides to commit suicide. But upon spotting a weakened Natsuko, who found her way back to the village from wherever she was, he finds new determination to survive. Kazunari kills Shuhei by blindly stabbing him in fear of being shot point blank in the head as he was trapped, automatically making him the initial survivor of the king's order. But he is also attacked then by a very crazed Michiko, who, as she does not complete the order in time, gets killed via the punishment. With the other 30 villagers dead, Kazunari and Natsuko are the only 2 left. Kazunari watches after a recovering Natsuko, and when she awakens, she reveals to Kazunari that she was the king all along. As her family were practitioners of traditional medicines and cultivated poisons within their bodies, apparently a very special poison was created but sealed off for generation. In the beginning of the manga, when she locked herself in a storeroom, in her heartbroken rage against her mother and the rest of the villagers for not accepting the love that she and Kazunari had, as I mentioned earlier, despite them being cousins, she broke the pot that contained the virus, and that's what, of course, started the events of the manga, with her being subconsciously controlled to create the letters, hide them, and the orders be carried out. The pot apparently contained the blood of her ancestors, along with the poison of 32 insects who were trapped inside that pot and fought to the death. Something she did not know how bad it was till it was already too late. The poison had already been released, so there was no going back. And of course, since there were 32 villagers, the villagers represented those 32 insects, fighting until one survived at least. Kazunari tried to remain hopeful and make sense of everything that Natsuko revealed to him. She hands him a paper with the next order on it, for him to kill her or die of brain damage. Kazunari, of course, refuses, but Natsuko informed him that the order has already been carried out. You see, after surviving against Michiko, Kazunari called a doctor back to the village, linked to him, of course, by the police officer that he kind of trusted, to treat his injuries and to help Natsuko. He's given medicine for her. When she awakens, Kazunari is not by her side, as he went out to get food. She heads over to her family's storehouse and picked out a slow-acting poison, which results in a painful death. Not initially seeing the pills that he had to give her upon awakening, Kazunari fed her the poison. Of course, he didn't know it was a poison. The poison begins to take its effect while she's explaining to him how the King's Game started, and she dies painfully in his arms. In his sorrow, Kazunari notices that the writing on the paper he had looked at earlier had changed to a final order for him as the remaining surviving participant to continue the game or be punished. Kazunari, of course, like anyone would, refuses to continue the game, but he's not punished at all. In the end, after it becomes too painful to stay there anymore, and of course after he's buried Natsuko, he decides to leave Yonaki village and let his body be studied in hopes of finding a cure for this thing. Flash forward 32 years. Now 32 is just a recurring number in this whole thing. Kazunari is now the father of two twin girls, Natsuko and Chiyomi. Natsuko, as a child, was hit by him out of a momentary lapse of rage for his past coming back to haunt him. And so Natsuko is sent off to be raised by her grandmother in Hiroshima. Unseen until the events of the anime, of course, when we see her with our main character for the anime. This manga ends with Chiyomi showing Kazunari a text on her phone initiating a new King's Game with her class as the next participants. Oof. I hope... Well, okay, I'm sorry. I know that was a lot, but I hope that shows you just, of course, how much better and more fleshed out the manga is compared to the Crampton anime. Okay, so, to backtrack. Before her death, Natsuko mentioned that the virus had a purpose and was trying to evolve. Since it was, I guess, still alive but dormant within Kazunari, it was spread to, of course, his daughters. So, of course, it evolved as time went on. So, it evolved to suit a new generation, and the orders, just like we see in the anime, come via text messages now. So, yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for now. This video is long enough. The next part, well, just titled King's Game, will come out soon. That manga pertains to events that we only got flashes about in the anime. So, till then, just leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe for more content. And, I'll see you next time. Luna out.